welcome to Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host,
Charlie Seymour.
I'm Tim Sternberg with a very, very special guest, Charlie. We have Mr. Rob. I can't pronounce your last name, bro. Is it Kasperic?
Kasperzik. Not many people.
Welcome, buddy. How are you doing?
How you doing, Rob?
How are you guys doing?
Hey, living a dream, right? What about you, Charlie?
Oh, yeah. It's great to see you, Rob. It's great to have you on. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. You two are two of my favorite guys from the show.
Oh, thanks, bro. I should have introduced you really as game show legend, Rob, because Rob.
You know what? Tim really should have.
That's how he saved in my phone.
Let's do it again. Hold on. Welcome to Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with the game show legend, Rob Kasperzik.
Was that so much?
That was it right there.
Yes. Boom,
send that in for the award show reel.
That needs to be like, I need to be announced that way everywhere I go. Like, but 100%. Like only Tim, only if you will take, ladies and gentlemen, 4-time sweepstakes winner Tim Sternberg.
Like 138 times sweepstakes.
138. Too low. Sorry.
But when it comes to game shows, hello, and I've been on a couple, but hello. It's not bad.
We've had our share.
We it's pretty awesome. And a lot of people, one of the questions I get asked a lot, because they see, I post and I do the trivia chat on TikTok and all that, is how do you get on a game show? Like, how do you do it? What's the process like? So first of all, for those who might not know, because we're assuming a lot, I guess, Rob was on We Are Family with Charlie and I. He was one of the 115 of us that graced that stage. And Rob was in the A block with Charlie.
A block.
A6.
And we didn't get a chance to talk during the show or in Atlanta because we were kind of separated in hotels. But I will say, the one comment I made, Rob did a killer stand-up routine at the talent show. We had a talent show there, and we had a good time. But since the show had finished taping, we really connected and become friends. And one of the people I really value from the show, without a doubt, Rob. What was your experience like getting on We Are Family? What was that like? What did you do?
Well, first off, right back at you, Tim, for sure.
Thanks, bro.
But the experience was not typical of other game shows, definitely in the past. It started in 2021 when I first responded to something or somebody reached out to me. I can't remember exactly. There were so many producers initially that reached out that I never heard from again or talked to again, but started going through the process of, getting interviewed and asked, and there were several Zooms, and because that's how everything transitioned after COVID to a Zoom model. And then did a few of those, then a couple of tests, doing the trivia tests and things like that. And then there were gaps, were months at a time where I didn't hear anything other than maybe a check-in email that said, hey, the process is still happening. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the time frame, or things have changed. And, it was just nice to constantly be getting an update. And I would respond back, hey, it's nice to know that, I'm still in the mix. It turns out it was interesting to find out that the whole Jamie Foxx illness and things probably delayed things a little bit. There were lots of other things, but I find it interesting in watching some other podcasts and some other things that I've listened to people. I'm almost convinced I was initially booked to be on the floor, and somewhere along the line, they transitioned and put me somewhere else because they were drilling me on what is the best trivia that like, give us your number one topic.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah. That never came into play for We Are Family. It couldn't have been really further from a trivia type of show. So they asked me, what topics are you proficient in? If we said, well, what's your number one topic? What would it be? And then, all of a sudden now I'm on We Are Family, and then I see the floor come out and I'm like, I think I was meant to be on that show. They
Did
never
you
told me.
did you happen to have a quiz during yours where they
Yeah,
showed you pictures of
5
people
questions.
and name them?
Yep.
I had that as
I
Yeah.
had that
well.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had that also. You know what's
Yeah.
interesting? I had prior to auditioning for We Are Family. You know, my time frame was a little quicker. I auditioned for the floor. I actually made it all the way to the. We're gonna let people know right away who's going to Ireland, and those were the types of questions when I auditioned for the floor that they asked me. Like, what's your number one category? They were really kind of, and they actually wanted me to nail down categories that I was good at. Yeah, your experience, I would agree, based on my experience, not typical at all in this process of game
Mm-mm.
show auditioning. I mean,
No.
even in the post-COVID world, I would say.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know as the resident newbie, so to speak, in the game shows between your two vast experiences. For Rob, who you've done it a number of times, was this process similar to your other shows? Like, was this or the time length, or was it this a little different?
No, this is completely different. Like other shows, there would be an in-person interview with the cattle call of, whoever they're bringing in. Usually weed through those people in a couple of hours. They narrow it down to 10 or 15 people that they keep, and then you play a mock version of whatever game they're looking to do. And then usually pretty quickly, within a week or two, they're going to follow up with you and say, okay, we're moving you forward. Are you available for these dates or whatever? And then once they make that decision, it's usually within a few weeks. You're taping the show, you're doing it, it's over. And then 3 to 4 months later, it's airing and the process is done. You know, definitely the going to Atlanta and staying for 3 weeks and pounding out a season of shows like we did, that's definitely not typical at all. Um, it was crazy to have that whole experience. And I'm still waiting for them to reach out to us and say, okay, we were just messing with you guys. The real show wasn't what we aired. The real show is the behind the scene
Yeah.
footage that we're shooting this whole time.
100%.
And then that's the show that is like gonna win an Emmy for like the best reality show, because that would be insane, especially things that have been continuing to happen since. I mean, I got a drama for you, okay? But anyways,
Yeah.
crazy. It's
It's
crazy.
like
Yeah.
a reality show on top of I said to Charlie, when we got to Atlanta, I literally looked in the Uber because they paid for our Uber to go to the hotel, and I looked for a camera. I thought maybe that's
Oh yeah.
filming me right then. No regrets though, right? I love the fact that I have this experience because it was so different from the other game show experiences that we've had. And some people, maybe like Charlie, when he goes on his next show, he's gonna be like, this is it. It's like gonna be one and
Right.
done. Like, what?
Wait, I don't get to stay in a hotel for 3 weeks.
And Wheel of
Where's my
Fortune, I had to pay for my own hotel because I don't live in California like you. So when I was on Wheel of Fortune, I literally stayed at the Radisson, paid for the Radisson, and had to do the whole thing. Although I heard locals also stay in a hotel
Yeah,
sometimes
that's so crazy. I stayed at that Radisson, which doesn't exist anymore.
in Culver
But
City.
yeah, but that's funny. Yeah, I stayed at that same Radisson. It's now a Hilton. I think it's the Culver City Hilton. I
Interesting.
stayed there for Thanksgiving this year.
So
For those
But
how
viewers, Rob
so
and I
how,
taped 5 years apart for Wheel of Fortune. He was
yeah,
5 years
so for those of us that haven't been on Wheel of Fortune, for the like the two of you, explain how that day went. Like what time like do you go to set? Like is it a whole day thing? I'd love to hear the behind the scenes of it.
so for me, for the Wheel of Fortune, I was initially an alternate.
Me
So
too. Me
I
too.
got I got to the show, was excited about being on this show, then was told very early in the day that I'm an alternate,
So
right?
essentially you're fourth in line for 3 spots.
No, so I was
15
16,
contestants, or no,
16.
actually 18.
Did you
Yeah.
say
Yeah,
They taped
16th?
6 shows.
yeah, because in my case they taped 5 shows.
Oh,
There were 3 contestants on each show, and I knew I wasn't going to be on it. So I actually thought it was an advantage because I got to sit there the whole day and I watched all the shows being taped. I watched when we're going to go eat, when they're doing this. I watched contestants make mistakes. I watched them break rules. I got to see all of the little nuances that go into making the show. I got to watch where you're looking at the letters across the set to the left, and I just got to form a game plan for myself.
That's awesome.
And so then when the day was over and I went home, they called me a couple of days later and they said, we're going to have you come back like in 2 weeks and we're going to guarantee that you'll be on the show. And, we appreciate you being an alternate. So then when I went back the next time, they said right away, they tell you what show you're going to be on. And they said I was going to be on show number 1.
Did
and
they do a draw?
I drew. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I drew the number 1 hole. So I was the red player. Show 1, first show of the day. Here we go. Right.
Wow.
And so then I knew the drill. Then I knew that Vanna was going to bring in donuts in a little bit for everybody. Yep. She brought in Krispy Kremes and they tell you who was on your show. So I had a flight attendant that worked for Dallas Airlines that I knew was not the brightest, maybe let's say. And then this other girl. And I kind of started putting my game plan together, and it was like a whirlwind. I got on that first show, got the first toss up, got the second toss up. I had like $9,000 in the bank before things were even moving along. And, and then it was between me and the girl that was in the position 2. She got Martin Sheen as President Bartlett. It was a huge puzzle. And she got a lot of money because she guessed every letter. She just kept going. She didn't know it, but she guessed the right letters. And so then I had to play a couple of defensive games where I solved it with hardly any money in the bank because I just wanted to stay in front of her. Then the girl that was in position 3, it was the final round, the boop, 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 going to give the wheel a final spin. So now either she solves it and I still win because she wouldn't be able to make enough money, or it gets back to me and I solve it. The only thing that couldn't happen was the player in position 2 solve it.
And she got it.
She would have win. But so I solve it. It was toy chest was the puzzle, and went into the bonus round. And then I swear these things are not always coincidences. But they said, what do you like to do, Rob, in your spare time, right? On the little test that they give you and the little questionnaire you fill out. I said, I love to gamble. I love to go to Vegas. I love to play cards. I like to bet on sports. And right. And so then what was the bonus round? Poker night. Right. Wow. And it was just like, it popped into my head because I could see it. And that was it. The rest was history,
So you won the final round, obviously?
I did, yeah.
How much total did you win?
What was in your envelope?
So in the envelope was a Toyota 4Runner that even in 2001 was $36,000.
Yeah, and wow.
I had won $19,000 in cash on the show.
Wow, so 55,000. Not too shabby. And with 2001?
It was pretty good. And then it was awesome because I never even took possession of the car. I just went I went to the dealer to pick it up and I said, what's my option? They said, pay the taxes and drive the car out of here, or we'll cut you a check for the wholesale value of the car. I said, start cutting the check.
Done.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So awesome.
That's so awesome.
I want to hear Tim's experience.
We there's some similarities. I auditioned at a Wheelmobile event down here in Fort Lauderdale in 2005. It was like mid 2005. I was on Who Wants to Be a Million in 2001, the year you were on Wheel of Fortune. So I was trying over the couple of years after to try to get on another show. I went to The Price is Right. I did a number of things, and then Wheelmobile, I did it a couple of years in a row. And then this year they went to like a CarMax car place down here in Fort Lauderdale. I went, luckily got my name pulled from the drum. I went on stage. I was excited, the whole enthusiastic thing. I solved the puzzle. I got an email from Sony saying, okay, you're going to a Wheel of Fortune final event. It was at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino down here. And I went, in the room, did the whole puzzle thing where you're filling out the puzzle test and you're doing you're spinning a little wheel and you're doing the enthusiasm and all that. And they were taping shows here in Fort Lauderdale. It was Fun in the Sun Week was one of the weeks, and that's why they were really kind of pushing the Wheelmobile event down here. I get a call from, I think it was Jackie at Wheel of Fortune. We'd like you to be an alternate on Wheel of Fortune. And I'm thinking, oh no, similar to, I was like, oh, that means I'm not going to get on the show. But like, they're like, no, you're going to be an alternate in Fort Lauderdale. What we're going to do is we're going to guarantee that you get on the show. The only thing is you might have to fly yourself out to LA. I was like, okay. So I was an alternate for the Broward County Convention Center shows from Fort Lauderdale. I got, like you, got to see every little aspect of it. At the end of the night, I got the Sherry's Berries gift card for being an alternate as a thank you. And then about a month later, maybe even less, I got a call from Jackie saying, "Hey Tim, we're gonna have you on the show. You're gonna fly out to Culver City. You book your airfare." And I got on, booked my airfare, booked my hotel. Was so ecstatic because Wheel of Fortune has always been like one of those like awesome. That's an iconic show. You'll agree.
Sure.
But I was like, damn, I'm gonna be on Wheel of Fortune. So I got myself, flew my Erica and I out to Los Angeles, stayed in Culver City. It was Wheel Across America week, and I drew number one like you. It wasn't show one. I think I was show three. It was May 30th. I don't remember what. It was like a Tuesday or Wednesday show, and I got the number one spot. My problem was that I had Linda, who was in the yellow spot, the number two spot. She kicked ass. She was really good, and the wheel wasn't too kind for me. I did get the mystery wedge to $10,000, but I got a loser turn. So it was a number of things that happened. I did solve the first puzzle, the regular puzzle. It was turkey dinner with all the fixings, so I ended up winning $2,250, which basically paid for the trip, and I had an experience of a lifetime. Love to do that again if I ever had the opportunity.
Did you guys get to
Wheel of
meet
Fortune.
Pat and Vanna?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat told me on the show, your last name looks like you need to buy a vowel.
I love that.
I said,
That's funny.
thanks, Pat. That's really funny.
And Vanna, like you said, Vanna comes in with the donuts, right? And she literally is in street clothes, and she says to everybody, "Hey, I want you to feel good." And she's so
super
sweet, so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, super sweet. That was just a surreal experience. And I mean, when you think of the iconic game shows and of the fact that they're the ones that are still on, Wheel of Fortune is in the top three. I mean, you got Jeopardy, you got Wheel of Fortune, probably Price is Right, and it's like to have been on that is an accomplishment, number one, just like they said with, We Are Family. Oh, there was, 25,000 people or whatever. Like they get hundreds of thousands of applications on a yearly basis to Wheel of Fortune, so to get on that is a challenge to begin with. And then, I always get a kick out of when I go into a casino or something and I see a Wheel of Fortune slot machine. I always sit down and I play and I'm like, I wonder how many people that have ever been on Wheel of Fortune and played these machines. And, it's just, yeah.
So how many times did you guys have to apply before you got on Wheel?
About 3 years for me. 3 Wheelmobile events. It's a lot of this luck.
I only applied once, and I applied, and what I did was, and it's ironic that at the time, this is 2000, so 24 years ago, my brother was not in the soap opera business yet, but I applied for Soap Opera Week because I thought, okay, a guy applying to be on Soap Opera Week, they might want that because mostly women are the ones watching the soap operas, and they called me for it. But then, as it turns out, they didn't put me on that series of shows. I was on San Francisco Week, but that's what got the ball rolling.
Yeah, that's smart thinking right there.
And that's what it takes. Most people don't look at the entire process of from the beginning to getting on the show as the process, but like you have to be playing the show from the time you audition or you send in the audition.
100%. You have to be excited, like you are always on the show. Absolutely. Yeah. That goes for any show.
Like Tim said about the test, when you go for Wheel of Fortune, the first thing that happens in the room is somebody comes out and says, we're going to pass out this test. You have 3 minutes to answer as many as you can. You're basically playing hangman, right? They give you all these puzzles with half filled in words, and you have to get as many as you can right in 3 minutes. And then they take those, they put the show on, everybody's having a good time. And then 5 minutes later, half the room is let go because they're like, those people have no shot at making the show. And people don't realize that was my shot to get on the show. Yeah. And you're done.
Personality.
Wow.
Yep.
So that's an interesting strategy. Like, how long do you fiddle with one if you can't get it, or do you quickly, if you don't know it, you move on to the next one and get as many gimmies as you can?
Like once you've done these shows, right? Tim knows the drill and he knows what's going to happen and everything else. The majority of the people that are in that room have never been on any show, any game show, right? And so they're just happy to be there. Right.
Which is a plus for some people. I mean,
because their
rookies.
personality can come out.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. But it's just to have been on as many game shows as I've been on and done well on them. Like, I just know what they're looking for. And, somebody asked me once, well, how do you get on these shows? And I just said, I just know what they're looking for and I give it to them, and
exactly.
Like I was, it's funny because I was on People Puzzler a couple of years ago and won the bonus round on People Puzzler. But I remember,
how much did you win? I know this. It's a $10,000. $10,000.
Yeah.
On Game Show Network.
On Game Show Network with Leah Remini. And cool. Leah was nominated for an Emmy for Best Game Show Host the season I was on. Coincidence? I don't
know. You might as well get an assist in the category.
Would you agree too, Rob, that it's not just giving them what they want at the audition, but also once you're on the show, it's sustaining that and being excited and
100%. And that was evident on our show, right?
Yeah. When
the producer and during the breaks would come out and be almost like shaking people up, like, where are you? Like, come on. Like, this isn't the person that we auditioned, like this is the time for you to be showing us that person, and it's funny to watch the comments from the public on, the various social media platforms where they're bagging on people's expressions and things like that. Like that's,
I got some comments, trust me.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what you're there to do. I mean,
what do they expect?
They don't. Yeah. I mean, that's what you're there to do.
You also, to that point, you have to have a thick skin too. You're putting yourself on TV. People are going to say things. I don't even look at half of that stuff because it's like whatever, but you have to have a thick skin.
No, I mean, I've been very down and sort of depressed that I've never seen anybody comment on what an amazing floral shirt I had
on. What about my Argyle sweater?
I think I've seen someone mention that. Okay.
Oh, but they did?
Yeah. I mean, and it was no coincidence that Argyle came out in the movie theater very,
as Charlie pointed out to me. Yes.
Yeah. So, but I never saw one comment about the floral. It's okay. It's okay.
And you know what? Honestly, it wasn't fake. I had the best time being on that stage and playing the game. I mean, I love playing games. And I want to backtrack real quick. You mentioned your brother. Your brother's the supervising producer of The Bold and the Beautiful, of course. Great show. But yeah, I think, you go on these shows, it's all about having a good time. And I will say, I'll vouch for both of you. You both had a great time.
It was so fun. I mean, it was so much fun.
So much fun.
Like, I would have to do a couple of things differently. I mean, I wouldn't have gone to my room every night after the show and just went to sleep. I would have gone down and visited a little bit more with people.
And I would have went across the street more, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would have come over to True.
Like, I wish we bonded more. We didn't really know each other there.
Yeah. But I think it's a pretty amazing story that, like, both of you guys, I mean, I was thinking about it. I don't think I said a word to either one of you.
Yeah, we didn't.
No, I came up to you after the talent show and told you how.
Oh, you did.
It was.
No,
we both were there at the time. It was both of us.
Did.
Yeah,
you did. You did. And what's funny is that I remember one day I was sitting on the couches in what I called like the VIP area where the makeup room was. In the couches right there. Like if you got to get one of those couches, you were set for the day. It was a good spot to sit. But I remember hearing you guys talk about Big Brother one day, and one of you said, I'm a super fan of Big Brother.
We both
and
are.
and then I was going to come talk to you because, I mean, obviously
You're
with
a
my
super fan of Big Brother.
Oh, for sure. And, have been close to being, cast for that show. And, hopefully that happens one day soon. I know. But, I mean, having my brother be in the role that he is and having him be at CBS, which is no longer CBS because it's not CBS Television City anymore. It's just sound stages. They've moved all of their operations to Studio City now for CBS. But back in the day, he would take me late at night and we would go into the sound
in the
booth.
Hallway.
We would go. No, we would go into the sound booth at CBS and we'd watch the feeds.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's pretty good. We were walking in like, okay, he's like, don't go over there. And I'd look and it was Les Moonvest's office, right? And I'm like, how are we even over here right now? Where's security?
Les was the president of CBS. Yeah, Julie's husband.
Yeah. and I mean, it was crazy. Now that's probably been a good almost 20 years ago. I mean, right at the beginning of when Big Brother was really going. But yeah, no,
How long has Casey been on Bold and the Beautiful?
Well, the show's been around for 35 years and he's been there since, I would say probably since late 89, 79. He was born in 79, 89. He started working. He was a page on The Price is Right at like 21.
That's amazing. I love that.
He's probably been there for 27 years. Yeah, he did his thesis. Wow. He did his thesis on game shows, and he did an interview with Bob Barker on the set of Price is Right.
That is incredible.
You know what's interesting? I was just watching a documentary on The Price is Right, and Roger Dobkowitz, who used to be the producer of The Price is Right when Bob was there, he said his master's thesis was also on game shows, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think I remember my brother saying something about that. He did this graduate school video on this guy that has the largest banana museum. And
I love that.
And it was in Victorville, and it was called Banana Man. In fact, my brother's YouTube channel is Banana Man Unpeeled.
I have to check that out. I have to check that out.
Yeah, and but the guy has the largest collection of banana merchandise like in the world. It was kind of crazy. But that's where my clip from Wheel of Fortune is on my brother's YouTube, Banana Man Unpeeled. We're over 100,000 views now.
I love that.
I think 95,000 is probably me watching it, but it's still, the numbers are there.
Hey, I love that. You know, Bold and the Beautiful is an iconic show, so that's awesome that Casey is one of the leads on that, leaders on that show.
Yeah,
you told me I keep having to watch it because I'm a Days of Our Lives fan, and it's rare of us guys to watch soap operas, so I'll have to start watching Bold.
Well, Sheriff Campbell needs to make a return to the show.
Yeah, Rob played Sheriff Campbell on Bold and the Beautiful. Did you know that, Charlie?
I did know. Yeah, I remember you told me that.
I was bartender Rob, and only because one of the main characters.
Oh, original.
Well, it's only because one of the main characters, Torsten, he was supposed to. My line was
Torsten K, right?
Right. My line was, Mr. Forrester, are you all right? Can I get you something to drink? And he was just supposed to say, I'll take a whiskey. But he goes, no, Rob, I'm okay. And he called me my real name on the show, so they had to call me Bartender Rob at that point.
That's amazing. What was your name supposed to be?
Just bartender.
Just bartender.
I had
Look
no
at that. Name. You got a name. You got an actual name credit.
Yeah, but exactly.
A funny little side note: when I did the bartender role, I had just done a play for a college where they needed an older guy because they needed a dad for this play, and it was called Over the Tavern, and I played this guy, and he had a Philadelphia accent. So the whole play, I was talking like this, I was like, hey, I got a bar, and and so that's how the whole
Sound
play
like Joe
was.
Pesci a little
bit. So so then when I did the bartender role was a couple weeks later, like my line was Mr. Forrester, is everything all right? I'm like, hey, Mr. Forrester, is everything all right? And my brother comes to me afterwards. He goes, who the hell told you to do it with an accent? And I'm like, I couldn't help it. It was like,
Where did you get that direction from?
Yeah, it's like what's the guy's name that played Elvis in the last Elvis movie? And
Yeah, Austin Butler.
Yeah, he's been talking like him because he can't get rid of it. He was so deep in control, the way it is. But yeah. So it's a lot of fun when I get a chance.
How many weeks did it take to shake the accent?
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's still there.
Still a part.
I could talk like I'm from New York. It's interesting when I'm around that. Like if I travel in different parts of the country, even if I've never been there, like if I'm in Texas, all of a sudden I'll start talking with a twang, and what's going on?
It's like you guys know that I'm in Chicago right now. So when I'm talking to people at the table, I'm like, hey, you guys like to travel a little bit. We can, what do you guys like to do?
Is that how we sound? Is that how we sound?
How Charlie
No,
sounds?
not really. I guess I feel like I feel that's what I think they sound like. But some people today sounded that way.
That's amazing. Yeah, so you've been on, all right, Wheel of Fortune, People Puzzler, We Are Family, Let's Make a Deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you wear for Let's Make a Deal?
I have it in my brain. Let me see. I have to do it. Wheel of Fortune, Newlywed Game, Family Feud, Supermarket Sweep, Shop Till You Drop, Pyramid, People Puzzler, 25 words or less, Let's Make a Deal, Price is Right. There's a couple other ones like Trivial Pursuit. I only did the test show for that, and I won the entire show, but it was the test show, so I only got $100 for doing the test show, but I won like 25,000. Like, yeah.
Wow.
And then I did a show called Pop something. Danny Bonaducci was the host, and it didn't do very well. It was like on the WB, and it was like on for like 10 episodes, and then they canceled it. But that was.
I didn't realize how many shows. So you were on David Rupert, the Supermarket Sweep.
I want to hear about Supermarket Sweep.
Yeah, like
that. Like
when you hear that beep, don't forget a Supermarket Sweep.
Rob's going for the Ham Hawks.
What was the bonus item to retrieve? Like get X to get.
It was a blow up Stay Puft marshmallow, thing. It was crazy. But
what was you on there with?
My ex-wife.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that who you were on the Newlywed Game with too?
Yes, that was 1997, and the host was Gary Kroger.
I remember Gary Kroger.
He was on Saturday Night Live for a minute.
Yeah.
But he's the one.
What's her name from Seinfeld? He was on Julie Louis-Dreyfus this season, I think.
Yeah. And he was like a bit player, like didn't get many scenes, but he was on it. And then the Family Feud was Louis Anderson.
I've seen that. I've seen your Family Feud episode. That's awesome. I love watching.
Well, and I appreciate you too for always finding finding the stuff and finding the shows. It's because I was talking to my brother the other day about it, because this isn't game show, but it kind of is. So we've been on Judge Judy, Judge Mathis, and Hot Bench. And so we were on Judge Judy, and so they're in one room saying, hey, Rob, your brother and your mom are in the other room over there, and they're saying they're going to come after you. You owe them money. They want it. And then they're in that room going, Rob's in there saying he doesn't owe you anything. If anything, you owe him money. And they just like to stir the pot up, so that when you're there, like my ex-wife, who was my wife at the time, when we're on the show, the only reason she was there was to get $500 because that was the appearance fee, right? So Judge Judy calls her up. She's like, Paula, what do you have to say about this? And she goes, Your honor, I don't really know. And she says, well, get a job. And but the whole reason that they called her up was just so she could say a word and get $500, and that was it. And then
Wow.
that my mom and brother got a judgment against me for $4,000. We walked outside the lot, met at the corner where
Let's
we
go
had
have
parked,
lunch.
and we said, "Can you just believe we just made $4,000? Like, this is unbelievable." No, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
go on a court show. Go on a court show.
Yeah.
It's
That's
pretty
your story is like, it's humbling for me because I'm like, here I am. Oh, I've been on 4 game shows. Wow, wow, wow. Not including GSN Live. You remember those? I used to win
yeah.
prizes. But here you are. My goodness gracious, Rob. Like, wow. I mean, it not taking away from anything because you are dynamic. Your personnel. I know you can like we before We Are Family aired, you and I were on an Instagram live and you were basically literally out in the street interviewing random rare strangers. So
I
I mean you
remember
have
that.
that personality, dude. And so I'm not surprised at all. It helps that you live in Southern California, no doubt, but you did that. Like you're awesome. Like seriously, like you have that personality that any producer looks at you and goes, yeah, doesn't even have to second guess the fact. And so
Well, I
Yeah.
yeah,
appreciate
So what would you say is your number one like tip or advice to
yeah, I
people
was
who
gonna
want to
ask.
get onto a show?
Yeah, what are like the top tips?
you've really got to just be outgoing. You can't be introverted. And from the time, if you get lucky enough to get asked to be at an audition for a game show, whether it's Zoom or whether it's in person, you can't think for a second that they're not watching you the whole time, because the fault or the mistake that I see people make when they go to an audition where there's 50 people in a room is they're sitting in a chair, they're sitting with other people, they start saying something derogatory like, I wonder how long this is going to take or whatever. Like, they hear everything you're saying, and you have to be on the entire time because their job is to produce a show and they don't care about you. They only need you to be what they need, right? So,
They need good TV, right?
yeah, we're minions, like we're the people on the game shows are just the extras. That's what they are. The whole thing is about the show. It's about the host. It's about, the sponsors of the show. It's about the network running commercials during the show. It's not about the game. Like, there are some shows that's the case. Like, people like that are on the wall or shows like that where the show is about the people and their story that got them there. But for the most part, we're just cogs in the wheel, right? And you have to always be on. And the last thing you want to say to yourself is, wow, I kind of blew that. I should have been a little bit more outgoing. I should have been a lot more, myself. I just froze. I wasn't, and that happens, but you got to just keep going, and
Leave it
they're
all
looking.
out on the field.
Yeah, they
Be in the
because
moment and enjoy it. Have fun, right?
that's it. Just enjoy it and have a good time. And I mean, like, if that's the attitude you have, like, I'm there to have a good time, I'm just going to enjoy the process, then everything will fall into place, But people that show up and they're like, they have negative things to say, or they think they're better than everybody else, those are the first people that are going to be gone,
Okay, would you
I'm
say
sorry.
too, just including in that is who you are, not just in the audition, but outside the audition and like in social media and how you're presenting
Oh,
yourself on
100%.
social media. Yeah.
100%. Social media has made things so easy for people that are making judgments against you to make judgments against you, right? I mean, they're looking at everything now. Back in the day, 20 years ago, Tim, when we were doing stuff, like,
Yeah.
it was a landline phone call to, something, and you're showing up and you're auditioning in purpose or in person. There's no social media now. I mean,
Maybe they would call your employer or your relatives or something like that, but that's as far as it went.
yeah, I
For
mean, they
them
can make
to
snap
look at the
judgments
papers.
about you just from
Yeah.
seeing a post you made.
Yeah.
You
Now
know,
Twitter or X, I mean, and a lot of shows will actually go through all that in I know We Are Family, they went through a background check process where they'll look at old posts and say you might want to delete that or something. The
yeah,
idea
no,
is not to have it out there anyway, right? Not
right.
to like, or even likes, even likes on tweets. They look at, oh,
Yeah.
you're liking this person's tweet and this person is whatever they are. I mean, you want to.
Well, especially we could thank The Bachelor for that, because there was that season where they disqualified, a couple of people that had all these things on social media and everything. And that really started the chain reaction of, we're going to go a deep dive, and see what this person's all about. But, like, I think I was sharing with you, Tim, one time we were talking that I was originally cast to be on The Hustler on ABC.
Yes. Which was a
And
Oh,
great show. That was a great
yeah,
show.
we watched that.
Yeah, we loved it
Craig
too.
Ferguson, right?
yeah. And I
Craig
was on,
Ferguson.
and I got cast on season one. They put me in a hotel in Burbank, and they said, we're going to bring you to where we're filming the show. We're not going to tell you where that is. You're not going to meet anybody or see anybody until you get to the show. We're going to have a limo at the hotel to pick you up at 6 a.m. And the limo never showed up. And nobody ever called me until like noon. I sat there waiting. Nobody called me till noon and said that the network went a different direction at the last minute and we recast some people and you didn't make it. And
Oh,
that's what I'm talking about. How,
The agony of defeat.
yeah, you're just
But you have
part
to
of
be
a,
positive. You have to have a positive
yeah,
attitude about it,
yeah.
right?
And I looked at it like, man, I would have crushed it, because that show, if you would have had me as the hustler, like, I would, there's no question, I'd have won
To
that
that
show.
to that point, I'll share this. I think my feelings are, um, if you don't make it on the show, be gracious, be kind,
Sure.
because it's those same people that are casting other shows in the future, and you don't want to leave that impression that you're just not a nasty person. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You don't want to.
yeah. Leslie Aquaviva
Oh yeah,
was was her name.
I
She
auditioned with her for Hollywood Squares. Just so you
did you?
know.
Okay, she was a
Yes,
legend.
yes,
Legend.
I
She was like
remember
a
her
Joan Rivers type of a lady.
very much. Hello, hello,
Right.
hello.
Hi, I'm
Yes, I
Leslie
know, Leslie.
Aquaviva,
Yes.
and
I
I
have a
think she
story for you with that.
passed
Yes.
away. Um, but
Oh, she
she
did.
cast us on
Oh,
Family Feud, and then, Newlywed Game. She was on the same show, and people always say, "How do you get on these?" Well, once you know some casting coordinators,
100%.
they move from show to show, and they just open up their book and they start making calls,
Yep,
and
I've
that's what.
I've made good relations with a lot of casting people. Just be kind, be gracious, be nice.
Yeah,
I have a quick Leslie Aquavita story for you. I flew to LA and I was big. I loved Hollywood Squares, and I know it was around 2002 or three, around that time. I had already won their Secret Square sweepstakes. And I was like, oh, I want to be a contestant on the show. So I went. I actually had an audition appointment. I went to the offices of whatever King World or whatever. I go in and I'm in the room and I'm auditioning for Hollywood Squares, and I do something, I make some stupid move, and you literally have to play the game. It's tic-tac-toe, and I made some stupid move where I didn't block or do something, and she goes, honey, let me tell you something. If you want to be a contestant on this show, you have to know to make the right moves. If you don't make the right moves, you're not going to get on the show. And I was like, oh, okay, okay, okay. And that was it. That was it. And I never got on the show. That's
you
my
you,
that's
you
my
forgot
quick
three in a
Leslie
row for tic
Aquavita.
tac toe.
No, I didn't block, like, so the person was like going for it and I didn't block her. So I did something silly. Like, I was just so excited to be there and I didn't. But yeah, she was a character.
oh
Like,
my god, she was.
and I
She was.
think she must have smoked. I mean, she was a
Oh, for
smoker.
sure. I remember when we got on Newlywed Game. She was like, and she didn't like pull any punches, right? She was like to my wife. She's like, Paula, we need
Yes.
you. We need you to be more like Rob. You're on the show because of Rob. We need you to come out of your shell. And
I
that's
love
how.
that.
Yeah.
And I bring up that point, another tip, and I don't know if you agree, you need to know the show. Like if you're going on a certain show, know the show, know the
Oh,
strategies. And if it's a brand new show, figure it out.
oh, so this reminds me, I was on one more show. I've lost track sometimes, but I did You Bet Your Life with Jay Leno. Okay. That was the easiest $5,000 ever. I mean, because the questions were so easy. But there's probably 40 people in the room, and the first thing they do is split you up in 20 and 20. And that's out of the 20 is going to be your partner. That's who they're going to match you up with. Well, we get to the show and we're sitting there, and the EP comes in and he's talking to the room and like, thank you guys for being here. We're excited that you're here. And he's like, who here hasn't seen the show? He's not looking for anybody to raise their hand, right? But this one guy is like, I've never seen it. And he's like, you've never seen the show? And the guy's like, no. And he goes, so you don't understand how to play the show? And the guy goes, no, I don't. That guy was gone 10 minutes later, right? The executive producer didn't embarrass him, but he told somebody, obviously, and then he came and got the guy, and an alternate replaced him. Because listen, if you get cast to be on a show, at that point, you've had a couple of weeks to watch the show, learn everything you can about it. And the fact that you admitted you've never seen the show and never watched one episode, why would they want to put any investment into you and potentially pay you a lot of money when you haven't given them anything, And it's like,
and that goes for, I was going to say, that goes for shows that haven't aired yet. You need to go and do research and look at the synopsis of that show, see if it aired in another country. When I was a finalist for The Floor, I actually literally got a VPN and downloaded the Netherlands version of The Floor to see how the game was played, because I needed
But that
to
makes
know.
you, right?
Yeah.
That's why you've been on as many shows as you've had, and all those little things that you do, right? When we got to Atlanta, I wasn't even sure what the hell we were doing. Like, at that point, and it was like everybody was trying to formulate, well, how are we going to do this? I did have some intel from one of the producers that they said, look, every show that you're on, you're going to win money and you get to keep it. And so I was like, okay, that sounds good. But what I thought was going to happen is every show there was going to be a star player. That star player was representing the family. And if they got the 100,000, we all split it.
Oh, that was
so that was our vested interest in our family member doing well. That would have
been a great way of doing the show.
Yeah. And then that
family got to stay.
Stays back with the family, and then next show it's a new family member representing.
What a great idea.
And we all split, right? Yeah. So now there's a vest, and maybe they get to ask another family member, who would you think
the audience?
Yeah. And we get to help them because it's all in our interest. I don't know. There's a lot of ways they could have gone.
Or at least if they didn't get it right, the people in the audience who did get it right got to split it.
Right. Like, or some other family that we don't even know about.
Yeah, playing at home.
I like season 2 where only 50 people come back from the original family and 50 new family members, and it's like a family war. And if the new family member goes to the end, then one of the old family gets eliminated because they replace you. Like, you could do all kinds of crazy stuff. But that's never going to happen. We're never seeing Atlanta again.
No, I don't think so either. But to your point, I want to give some updates for our listeners. The Floor just posted the casting collective is casting for The Floor season 2. There's Trivial Pursuit that's casting for the CW, Scrabble for the CW. There's a bunch of shows out there that are casting. You can definitely follow the different casting agencies on social media to see where they're at in the process.
Yeah, just apply. It can't hurt. The worst thing that happens is they don't email you back.
No.
And my thing too, do not use the same audition video for every show. You have to customize it for the show. You have to have like, okay, hey, Amazing Race, and just make it, because no producer wants to see your audition video for Jeopardy for like the Amazing Race.
And it'll happen. A producer will say, I've seen this guy already.
and the same responses. Like, it's like Frankenstein, and yeah, don't do that.
Be
But I
original.
agree to Charlie's point. Yeah, exactly, Charlie. Apply. What's the worst that can happen? You either don't want to go on a show or they don't want you, but at least apply. And would you guys say the process is worth it alone? It's so exciting to think,
Oh,
oh, I might be on a show.
for
That
sure.
part of it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
You're not going to get on all of them. You're not going to be the right fit for all of them, but there's always going to be, or maybe not always, but maybe that one show that you just fit whatever they're looking for. And yes, they look for different pieces because they want a diverse cast. They want, firefighter, a teacher, whatever it is. You might not fit one show, but they may cast for something 2 or 3 down the road that you do fit, and you apply for it. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember Rob or Charlie or Tim or whatever it is." Just like Charlie said, go for it, do it. That's it.
Yeah. There's somewhere right now, there's a production meeting or there's a company putting together a show, and they are talking about one of us from We Are Family that might be perfect for that. And then that person's going to get contacted, say, "Hey, we saw you on We Are Family. Remember we auditioned you, like, would you audition for this?" It happens every day.
I've gotten those calls. I've gotten a casting producer text me and go, "Yeah, I know you auditioned for this. Listen, sorry, you had that." And I'm like, "Yeah, no worries." And like, "Well, I'm casting for this now. Do you want to apply?" And then you go and you fill out the application and go through the process. But relationships are big in any business, right? But
Do
in
you,
this
you
business, certainly.
remember you remember the show You're Back in the Room?
I don't.
It was only on for a brief time, and it was a hypnotist show where the contestants were hypnotized, and then they had to perform various acts while they were under hypnosis. And I auditioned for that show and like got 5 different calls from it from other production companies, like
Wow.
looking for different things. It was crazy. And I never made it on to the main show, but you know, you get called all the time. It's pretty crazy. So
Yeah, it's awesome. Rob,
yeah.
you're a wealth of information. I know Charlie. I don't want to speak for Charlie. We just appreciate it. We
Yeah,
do.
And as the newbie around these parts, I love hearing all the different tips and different and I knew you were on a lot of shows, but man, when you were listing them,
I
it
had no
was
idea.
like you kept going, and I'm like, okay, wow, 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 and then you threw supermarket sweep. I mean, there were so many that I was not expecting to hear. That was quite the number.
yeah,
You justify being Game Show Rob on Instagram.
yeah, it's been an interesting run, that's for sure. I really enjoy it. It's fun for me. Um, I've gotten to the point now where I feel like I don't want to do a lot more because almost every show that I've been on, I've won the grand prize, with the exception of like We Are Family, and there's a couple other ones.
It's
So
very
it's
hard
like,
to do that on We Are Family, just so you know.
yeah, it's hard. But the pressure is there. Like my brother says it to this day. He goes, "Could you imagine if you got on Wheel of Fortune and you didn't get the bonus round when it was poker night? You'd be still talking about how you should have got it, right?" And it's like, so that
I still
pressure,
talk about it.
yeah. I mean, you're like, "Oh, I'd have done this different, or I'd have done this different. Things would be different, But um, so the thing, my biggest thing is on Price is Right. I got called as the last contestant, so
You
I
had
already
one
knew I was
shot,
screwed. I already knew I was screwed.
but
So
you can go back on after 10 years.
yeah, yeah. So like, I didn't get out of contestants row, and then Drew makes a joke to the people that didn't get out. He goes, he's like, "We don't normally do this, but I'm going to give you all $300 out of my pocket," right? But it wasn't from him, but
They
obviously,
do that.
yeah,
Yes.
so they just pay you
What
300.
what was the item that you had to bid on in your
It
one
it
round?
was it was a hammock.
A hammock.
And when you're the last contestant, right, you got to throw out the
You
first
got to
bid,
do the first bid. Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
so the
So in
worst of
that
the
split second,
worst.
I thought to myself, okay, I got to go high enough that everybody's going to go underneath me, but I can't go too high that I bid
The
over the
dollar
price of the
over. Right.
hammock,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so the next 2 people went under me, but the last girl just went $1 over me. And it was
Ah,
and she got it, you know. And so yeah, and then of course it was a car and she won that, and then she won the showcase, and I was like, oh my God, it was right there.
Speaking of game shows, did you try to get on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire when it was on?
I only tried on the phone, like when you would call in and do those little where you had to get it really fast. That was the only way I ever auditioned.
I could never get on a phone game, so they started doing in-person auditions, and that's how I got on the show. I went to
That's awesome, because that's another one of those, for the time that it was on with Regis.
Iconic.
That was like, I mean, like, is that your final answer? Is like Americana, you know?
It was on in the first season of September 2001 in its heyday before the syndicated show.
Yeah.
Rob, thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, that was fun, guys.
Yeah, thanks for your time. This was very, very informative.
Awesome.
So basically, to summarize, guys, apply. Know the show. Be enthusiastic. And yeah, it's anything else. That's basically it.
And then once they want you on the show, do your homework about the show. Know that that's your one chance, and get after it.
And be kind and be considerate, and understand that the casting people are not the ones making the decisions. The people that make the decisions are production and the producers. Those are the ones that ultimately decide who goes on the show and who doesn't.
That's it. All right.
Thank you so much, Rob. I am Tim Sternberg, and I'm with my buddy
Charlie Seymour
and Rob K. Thank you so much.
Game Show Rob.
Game Show Rob on Instagram. Thank you so much, brother. Until next time, folks, we'll see you next week, where we'll have another special guest and another former game show contestant. Mike is going to join us. Until next week, everybody, take care. Bye.